Hi there, and welcome to Principal Shorts, the podcast for principals who only have 7.5 minutes for lunch and no time to eat it before 2 p.m. My name's Stan Baker. I'm one of your co-hosts, along with Shelley Steele. We're retired educators who worked in adjacent school boards in Ontario as leads for restorative practices. And I've put some words together that our AI voice, Paula, will tell you what restorative resolutions is all about.
Hi, I'm Paula. Restorative Resolutions helps principals and teachers navigate difficult conversations with parents, makes things right, and makes it all about student learning. This episode asks the question, what do you do when a parent storms into school, swears at the principal, and refuses to calm down?
And that's today's principal problem of practice. Our guest again this episode is Dr. Robyn Koslowitz, Educational Director of the Targeted Parenting Institute and author of the book, Post-Traumatic Parenting, Break the Cycle and Become the Parent You Always Wanted to Be. Listen as she discusses how to turn an explosive conflict that she was involved in into an actionable solution by distinguishing between justified concerns and some unrealistic demands. Do you have stories of situations where you've been called in because there was a conflict between the parent and the school about, you've mentioned some things in terms of particular situations that the school was interested in doing and the parent wasn't?
So I had an interesting story that happened where I was consulting with a very religious school, and the principals are all members of the clergy. And this is a wonderful school, warm and responsive and really committed to doing the best by the kids. But there's a certain expectation that you have when you're talking to a principal who's also a member of the clergy. And we had this meeting with this parent who I was told he is a very difficult parent. He was very angry about some things, some of which were justified and some of which were not justified, meaning your kid can't always get exactly the teacher they want. Sometimes it's a trade-off. You get the science teacher you want, but you don't get the math teacher you want, or you get the teacher you want, but you don't get the classmates you want. And that's just the realities of the Sudoku of school scheduling. So the dad was mad about a lot of things, some of which he was justified. One thing in particular he was quite justified about, a ball was dropped that was not okay. But other things that were just completely unrealistic demands. And he came in just huffing and puffing, and at one point started really cursing at the senior principal, like I said, member of the clergy. And at that point I said, all right, we are all going to take a break now. And because we're not communicating right now, there's no connection in this room, we're not really getting anywhere. When our brains are not here, we can't really communicate. So I think at this point, we'll reconvene when our brains are smarter. Let's everybody go out. Let's restore ourselves, take a drink, go to the bathroom, do whatever, and come back when our brains are a little bit smarter, and we'll continue. And then this principal turned to me and she said, I see what you did there, but I have to ask you, this is not language we use in our school. Nobody ever would swear in this principal. This just does not happen. Were you not going to say something to him about his language? So I said, what would have been the point? I said, I hear you, and I'm so sorry, and it's so not okay, and I am going to apologize on his behalf, even though I'm not here as his agent, but you are a member of the clergy. No one should use that kind of language in your presence. You are 100% right. You have every right to have that boundary in your office, that there's certain language that cannot be used in your office. You have every right to have that level of respect. He knows that. There's nobody in the world who thinks that you walk over to a nun and drop an F-bomb. There's just no one who thinks that. And think of any member of the clergy that you knew growing up. Nobody thinks, yeah, walk over to the pastor of the church in the middle of Sunday afternoon and just drop an F-bomb. Nobody thinks that's appropriate. He could not possibly be a human in the world and not know that, which means he doesn't have a brain that's online right now. So what would be the point? He's just super, super angry. Let's let him restore himself. Anger identifies a problem, right? So we know that there's a problem. That's good. We have some information now. Let's go. Let's restore ourselves. Let's come back in smarter, and then we can solve the problem. But I don't see what I could have added by saying something to him. And it's true, I probably would have been the one person in the room who should have, if anybody would say something, it would be me, because she was just appalled. So she wouldn't be the one. His wife was embarrassed, but was upset. So she didn't say it. She was on the verge of tears. The teachers were had just gotten yelled at, so they weren't going to say anything. So really the only person who could have said something would be me. And what I chose to say was, let's reconvene when our brains are smarter. Because again, I really believe he knows that. I don't believe in telling people things they already know. What's the point? And it worked. He came back in. We came back in. We all took, I said, and by the way, I'm taking my own advice. I am going to have a snack and a drink, and I am going to come back in hydrated with some like blood sugar, and we're going to continue this. And then we were able to get through the whole, that one incident that happened should not have happened. It was not okay. And here's how we are implementing policy changes so that story will never, ever happen to your kid again. You're 100% justified in being upset about that. These are the changes we made. That will never happen again. Now let's talk about what your daughter can and cannot expect. Like, where are the things that we can say, yep, we can do that. We can change that classroom. She can leave earlier from that period. She can do this. She can do that. Where are the things that, nope, that's a core curricular area. And no matter what, she's got to take that subject. And those are her choices. She can take that subject with the teacher she doesn't like, or she can take that subject with the classmates she doesn't like, but she is taking that subject. So let's figure it out for her then. What's our barrier there? Because there's no flex on that. It's core curricular. We can make it a home study. If you'd like to take the responsibility of doing it with her, that's also an option. And it worked. And suddenly we had a plan, and we left the meeting and everybody was happy. Like, everyone had, or at least everyone was content with the plan. We generated it and we were good to go. I've been consulting in that school for 3 years. We have not had another problematic encounter with those parents again.
As a principal, you know that you're in the position that takes the heat. So here's practice number 1. Take a break in a heated meeting so everyone can get space to reset. Practice number 2. Refresh your brain so you too can come back with what Dr. Robyn calls a smarter brain.
It's Paula again. By pausing, reframing, and focusing on problem solving, Dr. Robyn helped turn a breakdown into a breakthrough. The story illustrates how respecting human emotions while holding professional boundaries leads to stronger trust in the long run.
Curious about the how-to of de-escalating heated meetings with parents? It definitely takes some practice, so let's have a conversation. Send me an email, stan@restorative.ca. We can set up a time to talk, and make sure not to skip your lunch. You deserve that full 7.5 minutes.